That's right. Today is homespun candy cane making day. So I'm going to show you how to make the homespun candy canes. And I think you can tell a difference in the microphone. I switch, like I did my living room video. That was without the lavalier mic. I like to use a lavalier mic when I'm doing my crafts so that I don't have to feel like I need to shout or be very close to the um, back of the camera because I can't really get close to the back of the camera. So I like to use a lavalier mic. Okay, so here we have it. Now, here is the candy canes that I use. I showed you those in my craft room videos in my series of where I got them, what I paid for them, how to use them, because they're foodstuffs and all of that. So here's one that's in perfectly good condition. Okay, I also showed you my large basket of buttons here. And again, what I paid for those and what have you. I did win these at an auction, and I didn't even get just the buttons for $22. There's about 20 pounds of antique buttons that I got for $22. But I also got it came in a basket. It came also in that basket came a tin and a lot of what looks like old sewing spools made out of wood. So I might be able to figure out some way to use those too. So, and of course I'm not going to use 20 pounds worth of buttons, and whatever I don't use, I can probably turn around and sell on eBay and make back the money. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my glue gun here, and here are my materials. I went to my shelf, I grabbed my buttons, put a few candy canes in them, got a couple of my finished ones, so I could show you what the finished ones look like. And here's a few of my finished ones here. This is a red plaid. These are all plaid shirts. Once again, I told you where I got my plaid from, or my homespun fabric from. And I got those from, a thrift store in men's large shirts and just cut them up. Homespun fabric can run anywhere up to $12 a yard in some places. So they're expensive, and can you really make back your money, or even have fun when you're doing a craft that you have to charge so much for? You're probably going to end up bringing it home with you at the end of the day, you know. And these were already pre-washed, well used. I washed them all when I got them home as well, and then I dried them and laid them out and cut them up and got a bunch of this homespun fabric from them. This particular one here I did was out of a placemat that was plaid in color, and I like the fact that it had this little bit of fringe on the material. All right, my glue gun is still warming up here. I forgot to warm it up before I turned on my video player. I'm gonna get a pair of scissors ready. I got a pair of tweezers here, and I'll show you why I've got a pair of tweezers. You're gonna want that for later on. It's gonna be essential. And here's what we do. Okay, remember that drawer I showed you in my desk that I hadn't found anything to do with it yet? Well, I put a bunch of these strips in there. So when I open it up, I sit at my table. See, I'm all about efficiency. I'm not all about organization too much in my room. It's organized to the point where I like it, but it's also efficient. I can just sit at my table and start painting, or sit at my table and start sewing, or sit at my table and start doing candy canes. I don't have to go to this IKEA basket that's specifically labeled for one particular brush or one particular type of paint and all this other stuff and go get everything, and that would drive me insane. So here you have it. Took a strip of the fabric, I got the candy cane, and what I do is I start here on the curve at this part here. And what I'll do is I'll put a dab of glue. Okay? I don't want to get into glue guns because you all know what a glue gun is if you're crafters and if you're watching this video. And keep it on there for a couple of seconds until it dries enough that you can wrap a complete. We're not gonna angle the fabric yet, because at the end we're going to be closing that up, so we want to complete a flat circle there at the end. And now you can start weaving your fabric in and out of the candy cane. Doesn't matter if it folds over on itself, You know, it's the whole idea of the primitive look is nothing is perfect. And then, you know, so it doesn't start getting really loose. I make another dab at the top to catch that next one that I turn over. And then I flip it again. And we're going to go all around the candy cane in the same way. And I hope you can see what I'm doing, because once again, I have the camera at a bad angle. And I also put on my terrible incandescent lighting today when I wanted to use my new lighting, but it hasn't come in yet. It's due today, but usually UPS for me doesn't deliver till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're just going to keep going and going and going and going and going and going. And we're going to get to the end, and we're going to wrap it around again. And this particular one happened to end at a good spot. If you needed to use 2 pieces, just make another seam. And then that's that. Now, what we're going to use those tweezers for is on the tips, we're going to put a little dab of glue in there. You don't want to burn your fingers, so we're going to tap down the end of the fabric so that it gets on that glue. And then when it cools off enough, you can really stamp it down to seal it off. And we're going to do the same thing on this tip here. And dab it, dab it, dab it. We get all those little ends. Twist it around a little bit if you have to. Play with it. You know, if you have to cut off a piece, get a pair of scissors and cut a piece off. And then just stamp it down, stamp it down. I like to leave some strings hanging sometimes. Makes it look more primitive. And there you have it. It's glued. It's done. Ta-da. Now, take a piece of raffia. Everybody knows what raffia looks like. Okay. And you can either fold your raffia like so and glue it that way and just leave it hanging down. Or what I like to do is I like to tie a little bow. So I'm going to tie a little bow right about at the same level as where that candy cane turns in. And I'll just keep going and make sure the bow is tied. Oh, it's not a perfect bow? Well, guess what? Primitive things are not perfect. We don't have to worry about that. And now we have the bow. Now I'm not going to glue that raffia bow yet, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find a button that I like that goes with this. And I'll just stick my hand in my big bin of buttons here. And let's see, I could use this green one if I wanted to. Kind of clashes a little bit. So I think I'll use a white one. Okay, that looks nice, right? I think so. And so I will lay it down. We will put a dot of glue on top of the knot of that raffia, and then we will stick the button on like so. Wait about 3 seconds, and it's done. Once again, something else that you can do while watching a movie. You know, you can do a bunch of these. Get your fabric so that it's at arm's length. You get your buttons in front of you, whether there's a small jar of buttons or however you want to make. I happen to have boxes of these candy canes, which I showed you in my other video. Boxes upon. I got 900 of these babies. And I just grab a box, I open it up, and I put it inside the basket of my buttons. I bring everything over to my desk so that it's easily accessible. Okay? And, you know, you just keep going and you keep making them. What do I charge for these? I charge 25 cents a piece, or 5 for $1. And there's my telephone. So I'm going to go, but watch my other videos to get more information. And happy crafting!